Hi, this is Dr. Les, and welcome to another episode of I Bought a Farm. Now what? It's July 3rd. I've been out about 2 weeks celebrating the birth of my grandson Charlie. I'll throw a picture up here just to be a bragging grandfather. Ben Kreitz, a graduate student and IRM coordinator, came out once during that 2-week period to send me some videos to show me how the girls were doing, but otherwise I haven't been out here for 2 weeks, and so today we're going to come out and just look around, see how the grass is doing, how the heifers are doing, just go get a really good look at them. Again, looking at their eyes, looking at incidents or occurrence of pink eye, and just general well-being, see how the girls are doing. And mainly we're going to look to see if we need to move them up to Paddock 2 to get them onto some fresh grass. My guess is we probably will. I'm going to look at the grass in every paddock today so that we can just kind of get the general status of where we are right now as we head into the hot part of the summer. The next several days supposed to be extremely hot and dry, and so a lot of our grass is going to be drying up. So just want to get a good inventory of where we are and what we're doing and where we're going so we can make a plan and adjust to anything that happens to be going on. All right, just coming out of the barn lot. This was the receiving lot, if you remember. We've taken that grass down. I guess the owners skinned it probably about a week ago, give or take. Just looking at the grass. Got a little bit of regrowth going on, but not going to be a lot of grazing available left in this lot for a couple of months. Coming out into Paddock 1. Remember, this hasn't been grazed for about a month now, and we've got some grass down in there, a little bit of clover, okay, several weeds, and as we get up here to this area, remember last winter the neighbor stocked some bulls out here, and so his hay troughs, hay rings are still sitting there. And so his hay rings are still in the field. But anyhow, the high concentration areas where those bulls are being fed are here. So there's a lot of weeds up here on this end. A little bit of Johnson grass, a little bit of ragweed, a little bit of everything. But you can also see some clover down in there. You can see some pretty good grass still down in here. Okay. About 6 to 8 inches of fescue that's still not completely dried up and looking terrible. Looking out over Paddock 4, Paddock 3, you can see the troughs where the heifers are being fed now, the pond, and the rest of Paddock 1. Other than the weeds, Paddock 1's not looking too bad, and we're going to be able to get some grazing out of it, I think. We might be able to get, after we get done up there on the hill at Paddock 2, we're going to be able to get another little run down here, I hope. And then the pickings are going to get kind of slim, I'd say, for a couple of months, and we'll have to feed the heifers a little bit more. But anyhow, I'm going to jump on the mule and we'll run up to the east end of Paddock 1 and have a look at it. Looking really good here. We're not quite to the east end of Paddock 1 yet, but getting some nice regrowth of our cool season. See a little bit of orchard grass in there, certainly some fescue, but nice 8 to 10 inches it looks like, plus a little bit of clover. So you know, hopefully we're going to get a week or two out of this to stretch us through the hot part of this season. This is the east end of Paddock 1. Certainly more weeds up here than I would like, and haven't quite got the regrowth that I was hoping from this end. Spots of it like this look pretty good, but then spots of it like that, not so much. Again, several weeds out through here. I may end up having them come in and cut this real high here when we turn the heifers out on Paddock 2. Cut this real high to see if we can get some of those weeds down. A lot of weeds in here. Yeah, but still some good grass. I mean, I'd say we'll be able to get a week and a half out of this next time we turn out on it. This is the east end of Paddock 2, and it still looks fantastic. Tons of great, thick, cool season grass. I'd guess mostly fescue, but I know there's some timothy and some orchard grass. But I would think this species left is mainly fescue. See a few sprigs of vetch, some red clover bouncing around, and some weeds, of course, but not too bad. Now, I would say that, you know, this is there's a little bit of Johnson grass too. This is a perfect area because it's been ungrazed. But remember, the neighbor's steers got out here and were out here for a number of days, and so there's a disease issue potential. And then hopefully there was a bull in that group too, and hopefully we got him away from everything. But this east end, remember the tobacco patches up there on the top of the ridge, and down on the other side, last time we were out here, it looked just like this. So we'll get at least 10 days out of this, would be my guess. Again, the big problem is from the furthest stretch down there to the water source down there is going to be about 1,000 to 1,100 feet, and so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to get this grazed, but we're going to do the best we can. We'll run up to the rest of this paddock, and you can sure tell as soon as we get to the old tobacco patch, just nothing but weeds. There's a stretch here of, I don't know, there's probably one total acre, goes all the way from the north end to the south end, and maybe 20 yards across, 60 feet across, where they had the tobacco, and it's just nothing but solid weeds. Gonna have to do something about that for next year if these guys continue this. And just like the last time we were out here, the west end of this paddock is also phenomenal. Just look how thick and tall that cool season is. There's probably a solid 10 to 12 inches of forage down there, and it is extremely nice looking. It's extremely clean. There's a few weeds in here, but mainly this is just a really thick coverage of good grass. It's available for grazing. That I'm sure this paddock will probably last us 10 days, and so if we get them in here in the next day or two, that'll take us through this heat period. And we've got plenty of shade up here. There's all along there in the morning, there in the mid-afternoon, and along that tree line in the evening, they're going to have shade, and so we'll have plenty of shade for the girls. Fantastic grass for them. You know, probably won't be meeting their needs for crude protein, but certainly will match their energy needs, and we should be able to get really nice gains out of these heifers for at least a week to 10 days. All right, here's the lane that takes us from the gap in Paddock 2. Okay, a little bit of sunlight tricks there, so There's the gap that comes from the top of the hill down into Paddock 2. Here's the lane that takes us down to the pond area, but mainly is going to take us back to the water. Pretty good grass in here, pretty clean, pretty thick. They're going to get a little bit just out of this lane too, but most of this lane is going to be tromped down, just to be honest about it. You know, it's going to be a major pathway from here to the water, and my guess is the girls are really going to trample this more than eat it. If you recall, we fenced the pond area off. You can tell we've had a little bit of rain in the last couple of weeks. Actually had probably 4 inches, I think, is what the landowner said, and so the water levels are back up, but that pond is still pretty scummy. I'm going to get a hold of the county agent here, Adam Probst, and we'll see if we can get something in here just to clean that scumminess out of the pond and kind of clean it up just because. I'm not really going to use that as a water source even after we get rid of the algae, but I just like to clean it up just cause. Don't have a really better reason than that. Heifers are down here. You can probably see them underneath the tree over there, and there's some up here as well. They're in the travel lane down to the water. Paddock 4, we'll look at it here pretty quick, but it looks like it's really regrowing well. And this is Paddock 3. You can see the feed troughs. See where they've been tromping around in it pretty good. Down here next to the pond, we still got some pretty good grazing left, but this paddock's pretty much played out, it looks like, and we'll need to move them. I might move them today, may move them on Monday. We'll run on up there and we'll get a good look at the grass all the way across Paddock 3. That was a quick little rolling tour of Paddock 3. There's still plenty of grass in here to eat. If you got in there and kind of dug it out, there's probably 5 to 6 inches, as a whole. The heifers have gone through and picked the whole lot and picked what they wanted to eat. My guess is they're not necessarily gaining super well right now. This is very typical, kind of mashed down. All right, and you can pull it up, and you can pull up some pretty good green grass. Okay, but you got to work for it just a little bit. And cattle are lazy, and they'll, in my opinion, and they like the easy stuff first. And there's a little bit of mature mixed in there, right? If you look right there, a little bit of mature mixed in with the green, and seems to be plenty of grass left in here, but it also seems to be a pretty good time to move and then take this down a little bit and get some of that mature stuff off the top. Just across the fence here, we got Paddock 4. Paddock 4 looked just like this 2 weeks ago. Moved the cattle off. Brush hogged it down a little bit. Looks pretty good. Unless something major happens with our rain and it just completely gets 95 degrees and so forth. Got a little fence problem here. I have to tighten that fence back up. But unless something just drastically happens with our rain and the heat, see, it's pretty loose there. And we're going to get another 7 to 10 days out of that. So right now it looks like we're in great shape for grazing with our heifers. We got 10 days to 2 weeks in Paddock 2. Then we'll rotate down to Paddock 1. We got a week there at least. Then we can come down here for another 10 days to 2 weeks. And then by then we'll have hopefully we'll have enough rain to have a little regrowth here. And then we'll probably run them back up to Paddock 1. Start feeding them a little bit more. Stockpile the fescue in a couple of these paddocks, and we'll probably run them on Paddock 1 and Paddock 2 and stockpile Paddock 3 and Paddock 4 for the fall. And so we'll put nitrogen down here, probably 60 pounds to the acre of N on Paddock 3 and Paddock 4, and then not let the cattle graze them until November 1st. And then we'll turn the heifers out then and use that for our pre-breeding and post-breeding pastures. But right now it looks pretty good. It's supposed to be really hot the next several days. Probably going to be a little bit short on water the next couple weeks. It's July, it's summer, so we kind of expect that. But we're looking to be in pretty good shape right now. I think we're going to have grass enough to get some gain. My guess is we haven't weighed the cattle, but my guess is that they probably gained 1.7 to 2 pounds a day, pretty cheaply for us. And it's looking like we may accidentally get out of this summer grazing without losing too much weight. Now we're going to go down and look at the heifers. All right, as we saw from up there, fence here on this north-south line between 3 and 4 is pretty loose. So the first thing I'm going to do is run over there and turn the fencer off. Then I'm going to tighten this down. Okay, and then I'm going to start preparing for turning the cattle into Paddock 2. Now all I got to do to turn the cattle into Paddock 2 is take that handle, swing it there, take that handle that's on the white post there in the middle, swing it there, and then when the owner gets here later, he can pull those troughs down, put them up there in that lane, and off we go. I'm going to try to have him feed them up on that tobacco patch, if he'll take them up there, take those troughs up there, just to get the cattle up. You know, if we can put that in the middle of the tobacco patch on Paddock 2, then that'll encourage the heifers to get a little bit more that way. But right now, I'm going to stretch and tighten that fence up a little bit, and then we'll go down and look at the heifers. In the excitement to get to Atlanta for the birth of my grandson, Charlie, I came out and shot the last video the day before we left, when we moved the heifers from Paddock 4 to Paddock 3. If you remember, we had to redesign this. We completely fenced off the pond. I had to redo all this stuff. And at the end, I realized I didn't have a jump, okay? Because of our redesigned system, I didn't have a way to get that north-south and this east-west run electrified. So I told the owner of the farm what I wanted to do. Just create a little jump here to go from one side to the other. But I didn't get it done, and he started to do it with that big piece of PVC, but it hadn't been done yet. When I came out here today, 3 heifers were over in paddock 4, and I don't blame them because the regrowth out there looks a whole lot better than the old growth here in paddock 2. So I went ahead and did the jump. This is, you know, I'm sure there's a million better ways to do this. I have to show it to Dr. Lim Cooler and Jimmy Henning and Chris Teutsch, and they'll probably laugh, but this is just the way Dad used to do our electric fence jumps. We just stick it up with a fiberglass post higher than what we were, and in this case it's got to be above the mule, okay, and then run it from what we know is hot to what we know is not. And so I took 2 of these fiberglass posts that we use quite a bit. I securely fastened it to the T-post, this corner post, ran the wire and spliced it in there up to there, put it in a hook, ran it across, secured it here, and then it comes into the fence again right there, okay, and splices. This was definitely hot, and I can verify that it was hot today because I grabbed the wrong wire when I was setting this up and got a nice jolt. But now that I've turned the charger off, pretty simple. It should, I know that was hot. We should be able to electrify that north-south run and that east-west run now that we've got this jump made. Again, I'm sure there are better, easier ways to get it done, but this is what we did. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go get those 3 heifers back over here where they're supposed to be, and I'm going to turn the electric on, and then I'm going to go ahead and shut that gate there, that gate there, open them up to paddock 2. When the owner comes down later, have him pull the feed troughs up halfway into paddock 2, and then the heifers will be out on paddock 2 for a while. So anyhow, I'm gonna go get those heifers over. All right, heifers looking pretty good. Gonna have to get fly spray on them. I'll either spray them today or tomorrow. We've got to get some fly spray on them. Some of them obviously are having very little problems, but like G127, you can see the flies are all over her, and we got to get her sprayed. G115, flies are all over her. We got to get her sprayed before she ends up having some issues. G357, got to get these gals sprayed. I'll probably end up spraying them today. Run to town, get a garden sprayer, come out, feed them, get them taken care of. From an overall health standpoint, though, they look pretty good. I say this every time I'm out here, but we got to get rid of doggone hair. I mean, a lot of them have shed, but there's probably 2/3 of them that still have half or better of their winter hair coat on. I was hoping that all this hot weather would help them drop, but we'll probably pick the feet up just a little bit on them, and going to start spraying them. Need to get them sprayed today, actually. The flies have really just come on, so we'll get out and get them sprayed. And when I look at the body condition score, it's exactly what I want. We're looking at body condition 5, 5.5, and that's what these girls are. And so I determined that by looking just at their general fatness, okay, which starts over the ribs, goes back to the hooks and pin bones. Do they have a little bit of flesh over the ribs? We want just enough fat on the body that you can't see the ribs. Okay, that means they're in good shape, they're gaining well, they're not gaining perfectly. I mean, you can see some of them are a little bit thinner than the rest, but most of them look like that heifer in really good shape. All right, got all the heifers back over into paddock 3 where they belong. Again, just looking at them, they look really good. Body condition in great shape. Just need to get a little bit of that hair coat off of them, and I guess it's just going to have to happen. I don't want to buy 2 weeks worth of soybeans to get it off of them. So I'm thinking about throwing out a high fat, high protein tub, but not sure it's going to be worth it for me there either. But anyhow, loving the heifers, doing a great job. We're going to get them sprayed today. I showed you the fly spray the other day that we're going to use. We're going to spray according to label. We're going to use this spray rig that hooks into the battery of this mule. It squirts pretty good distance. We're just going to soak them down today as best we can, concentrating on the head and neck area of every heifer. We'll spray them tonight at when we feed them. We will pull those troughs down, put them up in the middle of Paddock 2, and off we go. Well, G119 there, she looks like she's struggling a bit. See how her head's down? She's probably the run of the litter, and it doesn't help that she's got all that hair on her, and I know she's miserable just from the heat stress. You can tell by her respiration. The heat stress is kind of getting to her, and she just needs to take that heavy coat off. So anyhow, bit hot and humid out here today, and I've been working pretty hard, so I've soaked through my shirt and certainly sweat all over me. So please forgive me of that. Anyhow, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us on another episode of I Bought a Farm. Now what?